Wednesday night, the MLS transfer window slammed shut, meaning no more transfers or trades across Major League Soccer. I caught up with Toronto FC General Manager Ali Curtis for this week's Come On You Reds podcast. We touched on a number of different subjects. Curtis was in Ottawa Wednesday night for Toronto FC's Canadian Championship 2-0 victory over Ottawa, but up until the deadline, Curtis was active on trade calls, trying to see what was out there, and there was multiple options to make deals. Curtis elected to stand pat, not wanting to help any other team across Major League Soccer. In particular, didn't want to do any favors whatsoever for any other team within the Eastern Conference. Curtis is confident in his group and didn't want to make any unnecessary change. Thus, Toronto FC, although active, decided not to make any other deals. Of course, the window was a busy one for Curtis in Toronto FC, signing for the first time in MLS history 3 players on targeted allocation money, and so far so good in terms of his opinion and his perspective on the players brought in. He believes that Omar Gonzales is going to continue to be a key piece of this team going forward, and really for the first time over the course of the last 2 games, we've got to see the other new TAM players in action. Nicolas Benozet started and played 70 minutes on Wednesday night. Thought that he did well. You can see how intelligent of a footballer he is, and now it's a matter of the player just fitting in. Curtis just believes he needs to relax a little bit as he's on loan and the player wants to make an impression. He thinks that it's up to Greg Vanney just to find the best way to use that player, and he will be A-OK. As for Erickson Gallardo coming on as a second-half substitute, he was raving about what he saw from the player. Technically strong, his pace, his technique is very good. He can kind of be like the Jacob Shaphan Berg down the right-hand side. Speaking of Shaphan Berg, of course, he's just been a first-team player for about a month and a half now. Curtis tells me that a number of general managers and onlookers across Major League Soccer have called him up and said, "Who is this Jacob Shaphan Berg kid?" They believe that they've found a gem in their 19-year-old homegrown player. According to Curtis, Shaphan Berg is just the tip of the iceberg. Curtis would like to sign 2 to 3 new homegrown players between now and February. They're valuable in terms of giving flexibility against the salary cap, and they're protected for any prospective expansion draft, which is coming up in the not-so-distant future. Curtis reiterates signing 3 players on TAM right now and making a number of moves shows the confidence that the front office has in this coaching staff, in this team, to do something special down the stretch. He raves about the character within the group, and now there's competition for places in the team. He specifically points out the play as of late of Richie Larea, a trialist who's made an impression, who's got stuck in changing positions from day one and has impressed everyone at the club, as well as Tsubasa Endo, a player who was on the outside looking in, taking his chances, including scoring a goal on Wednesday night. He's been great over the last month, and Curtis says this is what it's all about. Players like Endo coming in and making it difficult for the coach to take them out of the team, or at the very least, the 18. Curtis's job is certainly not done. There's plenty more work to be accomplished. With expansion on the horizon, plenty of conversations are going to continue between him and other general managers about how to best navigate these murky waters. Of course, there will be flexibility for Toronto FC going forward, but making sure you get through expansion unscathed is priority number 1 for Toronto FC. For the entire conversation between myself and Ali Curtis, you gotta listen to this week's Come On You Reds podcast. Tell your friends, subscribe, like it, spread the word. Come On You Reds podcast, your definitive podcast for all Toronto FC talk. This has been your Toronto FC Insider, presented by the all-new Kia Telluride, and I am Gareth Wheeler.